Is that something that we can do it on cloud as well?
This just depends on what kind of data you have to work with.
Is there any other way that we can utilize it?
You just need to know how to configure it correctly.
We need to optimize for the content for the Rufus, right?
It's just basically what is kind of on the back end. And
which one will be better for Amazon?
Ecom Squeezed podcast.
Welcome to Ecom Squeezed. I'm your host Sebastian, and today I'm thrilled to have Joe Lambadjieva, a force in the world of AI and e-commerce, with a rich background that includes working for an aggregator, running our own agency, Amazon Wave, and now focusing on AI for e-commerce sellers. Joe brings a wealth of experience and insight to our discussion. Joe will also share her thoughts on AI on e-commerce, including potentially simplifying the tasks that normal Amazon sellers face. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hi, and also can I just say, well done on pronouncing my surname. Normally people really stumble with that, and you did it very, very well. So well done.
That's great. Thank you, Joe. So, I was planning to cover, means AI is big, right? It covers a lot of different areas of the business. I just want to cover from a point of an Amazon seller, all the tasks that we have, so we can drill down on each specific task. And then from there, you can suggest any of the AI or any other techniques or tricks that you have. You can share that. So let me start by asking you, just give us some background for the viewers. You've been in the e-commerce world for over 10 years, I assume. Yeah.
Yes.
So you have a wealth of experience. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so I started my career about 14 years ago in digital marketing. And out of the 14 years, about 8 or 9 have been spent solidly in e-commerce. I first basically dabbled with kind of a wider D2C e-commerce. I was heading up an agency team, specifically focusing on a lot of various retail brands in the UK space, helping them with sort of strategy, media planning and buying. So I worked with a lot of beauty and fashion brands, if you're based in the UK, you've heard about Reiss, you've heard about T. Lewin, La Perla, brands like that. I also worked with a lot of sports brands on their ticketing activation and fan engagement. So I kind of started my e-commerce brain setting in kind of this wider context of, thinking all channels, every touch point about where the customer is, whether it's online or even offline, and how all of these sort of different touch points connect to create one strategy to get the customer to essentially purchase. But around, 2018, I started looking into Amazon as a marketplace. And funnily enough, at that point, Amazon, at least in the UK, wasn't so sexy as it's now. It was definitely kind of a bit of an underdog. Of course, a lot of people sold on Amazon, but I got at sort of with some of the bigger brands, it wasn't kind of the place to be. It was almost like I had a lot of conversations at that point, which is, Amazon is not it's not the right brand fit for our brand. We don't want necessarily our customers to buy us there. But despite this, I started having a look and understanding actually, hey, there is a lot of potential in actually growing a lot of these brands on Amazon. And so in 2018, I decided to set up a boutique Amazon agency, specifically focusing on vendor management. And I sort of co-ran this for about 3.5 years. We grew it to we had a roster of about 20 different vendor brands, big names like Panasonic, Tommy in the toys category, all of the PZ Cousson's portfolios, Saint-Tropez, Sanctuary Spa, all of these beauty brands. So it was a really great way to sort of start my Amazon e-commerce journey. And then in 2021, it was I was essentially stolen from my agency by an Amazon aggregator called the Mothership, and there I was hired to head up and essentially create the entire Amazon division for this aggregator, set up the team, and essentially run the strategy for all of their Amazon brands. And I did that for nearly 2 years, and then at the end of that was basically end of 2022, ChatGPT came out. And I was like, okay, wow, this has definitely power. And I started looking into how I can use ChatGPT for the use of my own team at the time. Like, what can we optimize with using ChatGPT? What can we actually automate? And then bit by bit, I started kind of getting a feeling like, okay, well, this is really useful for my team. It will be probably really useful for a lot of teams in the e-commerce space. And in essence, last year, in the beginning of 2023, I took the leap and I started again my own shop, which is Amazing Wave. And since then, I have been consulting e-commerce sellers, Amazon agencies, and Amazon sellers on basically how they can integrate AI in their services, into their processes. So yeah, that's my journey in a nutshell.
That's a lot of things that you have done during those years. And I was
Yes.
surprised when you say vendor means, and you help also agencies. So I
Yeah.
thought you were working directly with the sellers, but that's a surprise. That's great to know,
Yeah,
though.
I've had a mix of things. I started with vendors and then I actually switched to third-party sellers, and now I specifically focus on, well, actually it's not even just sellers. Now I work with agencies, e-commerce tech companies, Amazon sellers, so a variety of kind of types of companies.
Great. So the next question I have is that, for example, if I'm a seller and I have done the research, I want to launch a product, okay? I've done the research, I've downloaded the report from Helium 10, I know a product, and I know there's a market for it. How can I validate? Is there any specific way that we can validate that using ChatGPT or any other AI?
Yeah, I think this is actually the part which I would always advise sellers to spend the most time in. And I think, there has been a lot of conversations in the last, 5-6 years about, using Helium 10, going to black box, or, the tools, finding a product like that, and then buying it. But I have this strong feeling that this doesn't grow anymore in 2024.
Exactly.
And so I would definitely suggest that people really spend time on understanding the data. And yes, you can absolutely use a lot of AI to help you with that. But I almost think that this is what I tell a lot of my clients as well, is AI is a tool just like anything else. It's not a magic bullet. It can't take the decisions for you. It can't tell you what is right and what is wrong. It just helps you process a lot of data or create a lot of data in a more efficient way. But it's not something that would magically tell you, okay, this is the right product and this is how you should do it. I think probably in maybe 3 to 5 years, there will be something like that, but not right now. And so I think when you are let's say a fresh new seller and you're starting your new product development process, I think the first thing you need to understand is the customer, and you need to understand what is the problem that you're trying to solve with your product for that customer. I think, any shortcuts about finding a product that is, doesn't has less than 100 reviews on Amazon and higher search volume. This is old stuff. 2018, 2019, you could have done that, but not anymore. And so your first point is actually pretty old school marketing, which is pretty old school product development, which is, okay, is there really a problem you're solving, and how are you solving that problem, and what is it that your product has that is unique to anything else on the market? And you can actually use then AI to help you get a lot of insight. So this is where the tool part of AI can help you. So firstly, understanding the customer. So we are very lucky in 2024. We have so many valuable sources of data. So for example, you can scrape Amazon reviews, but you can also use things like Reddit to give you further insight. You can scrape Trustpilot reviews and get a lot of data, and then use AI to actually analyze that data and really get in under the skin of the customer and what essentially problems they have maybe with existing products, the existing products are not solving in terms of their problems, and what they are looking for. And so all of this can be handled by tools like Claude, for example, Claude 3, Opus, and even ChatGPT. But I guess the main point here I'm trying to make is don't don't try and find a shortcut, really understand the customer and then start building from there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You need to you need to know the product. You need to have a passion for that specific product. I mean, I completely agree with you. You can't just pull up the Helium report and just
Yeah.
review and the category. It just does not work anymore. You're absolutely right on that. So which all for the validation part, when I say validation, is like checking the reviews, what are the problems that other listings are facing or the product are facing, which are on the same category. What are the AIs we can use? Is there any specific chatbot, or should we create a specific chatbot on ChatGPT, or do you recommend any other ways to do that?
Yeah, so I guess it's like for the easiest way will be kind of a combination of classic tools like Helium 10, for example, or Jungle Scout. They both have review scrapers. I think there is already actually quite a few also AI integrated Amazon tools. I think one is Shulex. I think there's a few which already plug in, but it really depends on how, I guess, how in depth do you want to go with your data. And I like to geek out about data. I'm like all about having a really huge sheet of several 100,000 rows of columns, breaking down the data, feeding it bit by bit into the AI, and then really having that. But you can go for a tool that will just probably give you kind of more of a top line overview of the insight. So once you have the actual raw data, I normally use Claude 3 because I think it's superior right now, especially if you choose. So Claude 3 is just for people who are not necessarily geeking out as much as I do on AI. Claude 3, I think, is the closest competitor to ChatGPT. It has two models that are free to use at the moment, which are Haiku and Sonnet. And then there is the most advanced model, which is Opus. Well, at the moment there is an argument between whether it's Haiku 3.5 or Opus, but either way, you can use either of those. The reason why I talk about Claude instead of ChatGPT is because Claude has, at least from all of my experiments and all the sort of the experience I've had with you, like comparing the different models, Claude Opus right now has a far better understanding of semantic contextual meaning of text-based data versus ChatGPT. To give you an example, sometimes I go and I analyze in depth, for example, reviews, and I look for frequency of specific benefits or specific, let's say, disadvantages of a product. And when I ask ChatGPT to give me a frequency of a specific benefit, what ChatGPT does is it essentially counts the number of mentions of a specific word, which is fine and it's helpful. But what, in comparison, Claude does is it actually understands that, let's say, cheap price and cost efficient are the same meaning, and it doesn't count them as two separate values, but actually creates one value, which is all around cost efficiency. So it's actually smarter in that way to understand the meaning behind the text rather than just counting the text. You can use ChatGPT and it can be like, you just need to prompt a little bit more. So from that point of view, I would use something like that and then just go really in depth and understand, okay, so like once you've analyzed the data, once you've fed it, then just start asking the chatbot to work with that data and give you insight. Okay, so what is the frequency of mentions of this, of that? What are the benefits? What do they get really angry about? And then create yourself a database almost. And then from there, start working off, okay, what can your product improve or solve that is different than your competitors?
Okay, great. Thank you. So I use ChatGPT Plus, and we have a lot of custom ChatGPTs for each function, right? Is that something that we can do it on cloud as well? So we can have a custom.
Yeah, no. So Claude at the moment does not actually support custom GPTs, just like OpenAI has created them. And so I think this is one of the advantages of ChatGPT is that you can create these custom GPTs. But again, it really, so for example, for me, I pay for both. But it's not necessarily that you have to have both. It just depends on what kind of data you have to work with. So for example, if you have to analyze anything more like numeric based data, ChatGPT is far superior. For anything more automated and simple, you can build yourself 1,000 custom GPTs that all basically create a sort of a separate piece of the puzzle and then use it that way. It's just how granular and precise do you want to be with your work. If I was a seller in 2024 and I had just $20 that I want to spend on one AI, I would probably sign up right now for ChatGPT just because it has far more functionality. It has obviously the custom GPTs, it has image, soon it will have text to video, it has data analysis, it can spit actual files for you. So it is kind of, I always like to call it a Swiss Army knife. But if you want to be much more granular and precise and write better text, Claude is the answer.
Great. And regarding the listing creation, I had a call with Amazon's tech team who are specializing on the AI, and it was like 40 minutes. But the only thing that they mention is a work with ChatGPT, and they give a list of prompts. So you have to say that you are this specific person, you are special. So it's a kind of a really big list of prompts that we have to go through each stages. Is there any other way that we can utilize it, custom GPT made for Amazon side, like for listing, for example, as one of their function?
Okay, so when it comes to product listing optimization, I would say firstly, stay definitely clear of the Amazon own listing creation builder. I think I would not advise it. I would definitely use the listing creation builder to actually do some tests and understand, for example, how the Amazon AI perceives your listing and for example, your pictures, your copy. That's a useful way. And actually Vanessa Hung talks a lot about that. But in terms of just how to build a very well optimized listing with AI, I would definitely use Claude, because again, it creates a much better copy, but you can equally use ChatGPT. So for example, if your portfolio consists of, let's say, 5 products, I would go about using Claude because you want this to be done really, really well, and every single bullet point to be done, to be optimized and well written and human sounding. If you have a portfolio of, 300 ASINs, and you need volume, then yeah, you can just do a custom GPT and sort of gear your custom GPT to be actually quite sophisticated. So again, what your Amazon rep has said, which is a lot of different prompts. I think that's right. Basically, you want to have a prompt chain. So rather than asking the custom GPT to create everything at the same time, title, bullet points, and product descriptions in one prompt, I would actually break that into let's say 4 or 5 different prompts and then do it this way. But you can do this sort of flow also in a custom GPT. You just need to know how to configure it correctly.
Yeah. And regarding when we construct the listing, the SEO part and everything, with the Amazon's AI, I think it's Rufus, right? Rufus?
Go on. Ask the question.
So we need to optimize for the content for the Rufus, right? How it's search, how your index. Basically, at the moment, it's like A9 algorithm, that need to be placed. But with the AI enabled, it will be a different story, right? So how can we prepare our listing to be optimized for the AI search or Rufus?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing. I definitely think that there is a lot of conversations right now about Rufus and Cosmo and how the Amazon algorithm is going to change. The Amazon algorithm is always going to be the A9. It's just basically what is kind of on the back end. And yes, Amazon is definitely reshaping things. But if you ask me right now in July 2024, like I really need to change everything about my listing to be really geared towards the AI algorithm, I would say, hold on, slow down. Like, it's not there yet. I think, of course, more and more people are starting to use Rufus. So Rufus is the AI, like the Amazon AI chatbot, where it's essentially a completely different customer journey. Rather than going through the search bar of Amazon, you essentially use this chatbot and you're far more conversational. So instead of saying a beach towel, you would say, I'm going on a beach holiday in Hawaii, like what do I need to pack? And then the Rufus then comes up with a beach towel and a sunscreen and right? So and then obviously Rufus, and then the backend Cosmos, so like basically the kind of the algorithm that kind of underpins it, then looks at any previous data that it has about you or like similar shoppers, and sort of the kind of the semantics and the bigger meaning and all of the previous data that it has on you, and then recommends results based off that. And this is definitely coming, so there is no doubt about that. But I'm saying this because I've had already so many conversations with a lot of sellers. They listen to these presentations about what's coming, and they come to me or probably to other colleagues and say, we need to optimize for Rufus, we need to optimize for Cosmo. And then I'm like, okay, cool, let's have a look at your listings. And when I look at the listings and I look at just the basics, keyword optimization, like, are your listings full of benefits? Are you speaking the customer like the customer needs? Like, are you actually looking at what they are searching for, what the benefits they're looking for, and have you reflected these in the listings? And most of the time, all of the foundations are not there. But, there is the shiny new object, which is the AI algorithm. And so for, I would say, 90% of the sellers, I would say you still have work to do, which is not anything to do with Rufus and Cosmo. But if we have to talk about Rufus and Cosmo, yes, I think there is definitely work to be done in terms of adding context to your listings. Now, this is a completely different sort of shift of the mindset about listings. So you're not talking here anymore about just keyword stuffing and let's put this keyword here and let's put this keyword there, because the AI is basically already able to scan your images, is looking at obviously all of the text on your listing, but is like essentially analyzing the reviews, is analyzing the Q&A section, and then based on all of this is then able to tell, okay, is this product really like what it says with those keywords? And so in essence, what sellers who want to optimize their product listings for AI have to do is like think about the actual overall contextual relevance of their listings and everything in their listings to the customer query. And the customer query is not anymore a search term. It will be sentences. It will be like a much wider context. So just going back to the previous example, I'm going on a holiday to Hawaii, right? So nothing of this is talking about beach towel. And so like sellers really have to think about, okay, so how do I make it that the AI understands that actually my product is relevant to customers who are going on a holiday, right? And this then comes from like rich and very clear images. It comes from rich and very clear A+ content. It comes from actually one underlooked element of the listings, which is the Q&A section, which sellers can already optimize for. So it's a lot of little elements, but it's a completely different shift in how to optimize your listings.
Great. So basically, one of the main thing will be the use case, I assume. Your product, you need to know what are the use cases for your product. So it might be
or the benefits, or the problems that your product solves, essentially.
So then the AI can link your product with the customer and their issues. Okay, that's great.
Exactly.
And regarding my next question, within Amazon, there are a lot of inside Seller Central. There are a lot of reports, right, that we can download, like, for example, search query performance. Is there any way that we can easily, check the ICAP, the impression, clicks, purchases, and everything, the full funnel? Or is there any specific AI that you recommend, or is there any prompt that you recommend for that to look into that report? or any specific report?
So there is, like, you can absolutely use ChatGPT, particularly
Mhm.
ChatGPT, to analyze some of these reports. The thing you need to understand about analyzing anything with ChatGPT is that you don't want to feed anything too complicated or too complex in terms of data, because I've seen that essentially the more complex a data input is, the more it can get confused and start hallucinating. And so here's the deal. Like, if you, for example, just download the search query performance report and plop it into ChatGPT and don't know what you're actually wanting as the answer, then you are not going to get much benefit. Like, of course, ChatGPT can show you some graphs, it can analyze just the data based of it, but you as a seller need to understand what your hypothesis is, what are you searching for as a data piece, and then get ChatGPT to analyze that. And so again, it goes back to kind of basic data analysis. This is where I keep banging on about it, but as a seller, as an Amazon seller, you have to be very data savvy. And so again, with ChatGPT, yes, you can feed it, and in like several seconds you can get some trends and some insights. It can, like, for example, analyze your search term reports from advertising point of view and tell you, okay, which let's say keywords are overperforming or underperforming against certain specific metrics. But in your prompt, you already have to say, okay, these are I guess my qualifications or my criteria based of which I value this. So you can't just, of course you can, but you're not going to get anything good. You can just say, okay, which are my best performing keywords? But if you when you get the output, ChatGPT will be like, okay, well, best performing based on what criteria? And this basically goes back to the point, which is you need to know what you're searching for. You need to know exactly what you're asking in order to get a good output. But yeah, ChatGPT is a good one. You just need to simplify and know what to ask.
Okay, that's a great point. Don't overload the ChatGPT. Be precise on what you want, so we can lower the hallucinations, right?
Exactly.
Great. And my next question, one of the main issues that seller face is forecasting the stock. We have like inbuilt forecasting within Amazon Seller Central, right? But it doesn't, I don't think it's that accurate. It can be more accurate. Is there anything that AI can do to predict, the sales trend based on, the factors currently Amazon will look into is within Amazon, right? It doesn't look into anything outside of Amazon, any other factors. So is there any AI or any other custom GPT that we can utilize or create to
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is the thing, like, it's a complex one, and you probably can, but not in a straightforward way. The thing is, like, when you look at factors, you probably want some sort of external input, right? Of course, you have the sales velocity and things like that. But when it comes to anything more complex, you want external input. And so the question is, how do you feed this external input? And with sort of like more popular tools like ChatGPT, yes, you can connect it to APIs. And if you have an API, you can do it this way, and you can do it in a custom GPT. But again, what is the API? And like, or if you have your own internal data, you can feed that as well. But again, this is something you have to input. And so again, from that point of view, I guess my always return is AI is great. It's not there yet to do everything that we fantasize about. And so when something like inventory forecasting, I'm still old school. I would still do it in a classic Excel spreadsheet where I actually input all of my variables and I know because it is a forecast. A forecast is based on assumptions. I, as a human, right now have far better overview of all of my assumptions and the likelihood of each assumption and the probability of each, versus an AI, which is essentially a text-based glorified prediction machine, which is just it's basically like all of these large language models are glorified text prediction machines. They are like trained on billions of sample texts, and then they give you output based on the input that you have provided them. But they don't know about your business, they don't know about your competitors, they don't know about that little thing that has happened 2 days ago on Amazon, because they're not connected to the internet apart from Perplexity. So you are asking the AI to do something that you as human, yes, it might take longer, but you as human will be far better positioned to do, because you can control all of these assumptions and know exactly what is likely to happen or not. So again, pick what you use AI for. Don't use it for everything, because it's not there yet. It will be, but it's not there yet.
That's great. And from your experience, which one will be better for Amazon seller? Is that ChatGPT or cloud? Which one will you recommend
Again, it depends on
for Amazon sellers?
Yeah, for Amazon sellers, I think it depends on like your size of how big of a seller you are, how many SKUs you have. If you just have $20 to spend and you don't want to go too deep into AI, I would say just subscribe to ChatGPT. If you're a big seller and you want something more precise for example, for text-based inputs like writing text or listing optimization, things like that, then subscribe to both, use Claude, and then compare yourself.
Okay, great. Regarding, Helium 10 and Jungle Scout, for example, they have their inbuilt AI to create listing content. What's your opinion on that?
Again, it's a very handy. All of these are very handy tools. It really depends on how much of a scope you have and how precise do you want to be as a seller when it comes to product listing optimization. I think these tools can definitely help you do things very quickly. It's a question of how much, again, control do you have on the outputs. With something like Helium 10 and Jungle Scout, you obviously provide kind of like your listing, and then it creates a copy, and then you can refresh it, but you don't necessarily prompt so much. And so you kind of trust the people who have created the tool that their prompts are really good. I can't comment. I'm sure that these are perfectly adequate, but I like to control and change and experiment. I like to feed a customer persona. I like to feed benefits and negatives into my copy, into my prompts. And a lot of the beauty of using AI is that you can give it so many different inputs, whether it's data or it's images or it's something else, and create an output based on those. And so it is a matter of, like time efficiency, like desire for control, how much time do you want to spend on your product listings. So these are good. It just depends on what you're looking for when you're optimizing your listings.
That's great. So we need that human touch at the end of the output anyways, right?
There is always a need for human touch. I think the moment when we don't need humans is going to be a very scary one.
Good point. And regarding the images side, we have to create lifestyle image and everything, right? So I saw a few videos that they were mentioning some AIs that can do it, but I couldn't find that like really. You can say it's a fake to a certain extent, right? From your experience, is there any specific sites or AI that you suggest to create, infographic or lifestyle image for Amazon products?
I would say so. There's a few different ways you can approach this. So for realistic lifestyle images, if you know what you're doing, I would say Midjourney is a really good tool. But again, you need to know what you're doing, because it's a complex tool, and yes, you can get a good output, you can get a really unrealistic looking output. It depends on how well you prompt. This is for lifestyle images. I think Canva is a great, just again, Swiss Army knife, which is not just AI tool, but it's just, if I am a seller right now, Canva is definitely one of the must-be subscription. I have it as an entrepreneur. It just basically has so many templates. Like it has for Amazon sellers, it has sponsored brand ads, it has A+ content, it has hero images template. So it has all kinds of templates, and on top of that, they have an AI integration where you can kind of do some hickory-pockery, nothing sophisticated, but still it can work really well. You can also use ChatGPT. It has an integration with DALL-E 3, which basically creates images, but they are not super realistic looking. It will be very clear that this is AI generated, but it's free. Like, so if you have a ChatGPT Plus subscription, you can definitely use that, and sort of with a combination with Canva, you can do quite a good output. So yeah, I think if you want really great looking images, lifestyle, Midjourney is probably the best tool, but again, you need to know how to prompt. But if you want just a lot of output that is okay, like I would say Canva and ChatGPT will be sufficient.
That's great. Thank you. And the other question I have is that, as a seller, the messaging side, the customer messages, right? So we need to respond over the weekend as well, Saturdays and Sundays and on holidays as well, right? So is there any way that we can automate it? I mean, certain auto reply, Amazon's, their system can detect, right? It's not, it's auto reply. So is there any way that AI can step in during, at least for the weekends? Is there any specific websites or AI that you recommend?
I mean, this is the thing, like you can definitely, as a seller, you can right now build probably yourself even, but there is just so many options where you can build yourself your own customer chatbot. In terms of specifically linked to Seller Central, I would say you can actually create a pretty nifty integration between your email and Zapier and ChatGPT. And so you can, but again, with customer service, like, is the question is, would you be good enough to essentially set it up in a way where it always gives you a good output and you are so confident with that you would just let it run? I don't know. Like, I think there is probably quite a few tools which already offer this as a service. I can't recommend one particularly off the top of my head, but I'm sure there is a solution. But again, it is a question of, customer service is probably one of the most important part of the system. So yes, automated with AI, that's for sure the next step, but be very careful how you do that and how good is the tool that you select.
That's great. I think we are out of time as well. So I just want to ask you, you have a subscription as well, right? You have a podcast, you have your own YouTube channel. So do you want to just give an overview on that, please?
Yeah, sure. So I have a newsletter, which is read right now by about 11 or 12,000 subscribers, which is the AI for e-commerce sellers. So it's a newsletter that comes out 3 times a week, and it basically gives you a lowdown of everything that is happening that is relevant for e-commerce sellers in relation to AI. You can find it on ecommerce-ai.beehive.com. I send you, Seb, the link, so you can link that.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Awesome. And then the other thing that I run with my friend Max Sinclair is the New Frontier podcast, which is also weekly. We talk specifically about AI in e-commerce, and we have some really great guests like Kevin King and Vanessa Hung, and we geek out for a whole hour with these guests about how AI is going to change e-commerce. You can find that on all of the major streaming platforms and on YouTube. So yes.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Joe, for your time. Really appreciate that.
Thanks very much.
As always mentioned, I put all the link for, Joe also offer consultation as well. So if you are looking for, optimize any of the areas of Amazon side, then she offers a free consultation. Again, I put the link down in the show notes. Thanks a lot, Joe, for your time. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, Seb.